Guides are ambassadors of their country. By conveying the history and culture of their homeland to tourists, they make hundreds of people from different countries and continents fall in love with their own country. In this way, intercultural understanding is enhanced and peace in the world is strengthened. Thus, important tangible and intangible values of humanity are preserved and popularized. Today we are heading to Kyrgyzstan, where we'll be accompanied by Lada Khasanova. In 2021, Lada completed a course for Silk Road tourist guides organized by the World Federation of Tourist Guide Associations and UNESCO with financial support from the European Union.
Hello, dear friends. Let me introduce myself. My name is Lada Khasanova. I live and work in Kyrgyzstan.
And today I am excited to invite you to take a walk through one of the oldest cities in our country, the mysterious and enigmatic city of Osh, where I have lived practically my whole life. Our first encounter with Osh begins at the most important site in the city, the mountain Suleiman Tau. Today, the mountain is a place of pilgrimage for Muslims of the Fergana Valley. Long ago, in the pre-Islamic era, it was also a church, the church under the open sky. It was called Barkuh, the mountain church, or the church on the mountain. The expedition discovered 15 semi-dark houses located on the southern slope of our mountain. These blocks indicate where these dugouts were located. Scientists have concluded that this place was inhabited not by ordinary people, but apparently by people who belonged to a higher caste, the caste of priests. In 2009, the historical archaeological complex Suleiman Tau was added to the UNESCO World Heritage List. It was the first object in Kyrgyzstan. Now, dear guests, I invite you to the Museum of Spiritual Culture. The exposition will talk about religions that have existed on the territory of Kyrgyzstan for 3,000 years. It's the only museum in Kyrgyzstan whose halls are located inside caves. There is no heating in the museum, but the temperature of the air in winter and summer is about +16, +17 degrees. Now we are on the second floor of our museum in the largest cave of the complex, in the Rushan Unkur cave, the light cave. And here begins the church complex, the church zone of our mountain. The fact that it's a sanctuary is very clearly indicated by the slab. We will see 3 solar signs, which together make up the sign of the Trinity. We are now in the second area, which may have been used by priests as a temple. In the first cave, you have already noticed that again, there are 3 solar signs carved on the rock at the entrance. And you would expect that there should be these signs here too. These are the ones. Don't waste time and try to look for them. They are not here. The priest didn't carve anything here because nature did everything for them. Pay attention, please. There they are, 3 holes, which together give us again the sign of the Trinity. Again, the 3 so-called solar signs. This grotto is very strong in terms of energy. It's no wonder. Look, please, you can feel energy from space. Energy from the east, from the sun, and the energy of the earth. All 3 of these energies connect here, and even the stone itself, look please, the shape of it looks like a dragon. There is its head, neck, torso and legs. It seems like it's carefully guarding this energy center. This grotto is also called the Echo of Love, and there is a legend associated with this name. Some time long ago, on the territory of the city of Osh, lived 2 lovers, self-appointed Romeo and Juliet of the East. They were both from poor families. A rich man asked the girl to marry him. Of course, her parents agreed to marry of their daughter, but she did not agree because her heart belonged to another. Before the matchmaking, the girl ran away. And where to run in valley terrain? To the mountain, of course. She she runs away, she is chased and she hides in one of the caves. When she ran into the cave, the rocks collapsed and the girl was buried under the stones. Her pursuer stopped and returned home, but the young man went in search of his girl. He looked around the mountain and cried the name of his love everywhere he went. And when he stopped in one place, in despair, for the last time, almost losing hope, he shouted the name of his beloved girl. Suddenly, the vaults of the cave opened, and his Juliet came out, alive and unharmed. What a legend! Nowadays, there exists a type of ritual. You must stand at the base of the cave and shout the name of your beloved, and the echo should respond. If the echo responds, it means everything is okay. If the echo says nothing, you need to reconsider your decision. We have visited two so-called churches, and in front of you, dear guests, is another church. This cave is called Kızıl, the Red Cave, or we also call it the Swallow's Nest. Why Kızıl? Because the cave inside covered in red clay, and experts assume that in this cave priests took red clay to make an engobe with which their ritual dishes covered. The revival of the mountain as a spiritual center occurred only in the era of Islam. The mountain is even included in the 7 holy places to visit before the Big Hajj. Pilgrims still visit the mountain, but mostly for the purpose of healing. Now we are going to the area called the Stone Hospital. But let us remember our priests or worshippers. How did they use this part of the mountain? Here they performed certain rituals dedicated to the cult of rain and the cult of the sun. Note how polished this area in front of the caves was covered with the clothes of the pilgrims. People come here to pray quietly for health, happiness, and entry to heaven. It's a pilgrimage site for women. Now on a stool sit 2 women in white headscarves. White headscarves mean that the women came here on pilgrimage with the purpose of praying for their loved ones and relatives. Priests also use this place like a holy space. Apparently, this was also one of the sanctuaries. The soul signs say so. We see 3 here as well. 1, 2, and 3. This cave is named Tamchi Damar, which means the dripping drop. According to legend, when Baygambar Suleiman cried in joy, his tears fell to the ground. You can still find them to this day. These tears still ooze from the cave's walls. If a pilgrim wipes their sore eyes with Suleiman tears, his sight will improve or return to him. If a woman washes her eyes with Suleiman's tears, then her face will stay young and beautiful for a long time. The cave has an elongated shape and is rather narrow. Its length is around 10 meters, and at the end of the cave you can find a piece of red onyx in the shape of a book. Muslims revere this onyx as a stone Quran. At this turn of the cave you can see a wish stone where you can ask for your deepest wish, but only once. The cave is made of red onyx, which was formed 65 million years ago. At that time, the whole valley was still at the bottom of a prehistoric ocean. Agriculture here was based on rainfall, and the harvest depended directly on the correct ratio of rainfall and sunny days. This was one of the main goals of the priests. Whether they succeeded in obtaining the right ratio, we don't know. But they know, the stones know, and even the trees know. They know and they remember. They remember who named the mountains and the rivers, who founded towns of the past, who gave names to forgotten countries. Words to us unknown. This is a place of great feats. But one day all will change again, and we will again touch Earth. Today's greatness will fade tomorrow, but signs will appear just when we need them. Who knows if they will be found? But we found them. We are the privileged ones. Here is another place which was used as a sanctuary. We can see a cave and 3 solar signs again. In Islam, this place is called Koltash, the arm rock. This is where pilgrims would heal damaged arms. You need to walk around the walls of the cave and an even amount of times and you will be cured. Do you have a back pains or kidney problems, or would you like to give birth to a son? Then welcome to our next site, called Beltash, the backstone, or Silaktash, the smooth stone. We found 4 such shoots on the mountain today. 2 of them face directly west and 2 of them face east. Usually you can hear applause here. This applause is for you, dear guests, because you made it up to the first summit of our mountain. We are now 140 meters above the city. In front of you is the smallest and highest up mosque in our city. The floor is natural stone. This was done on purpose so as not to cover those legendary traces of Baygambar Suleiman. According to legend, he prayed on this very spot, and when he stood in a bow to pray, the stones beneath his knees began to bend. But you and I already know that this is a legend, and in fact these are also the sacrificial bowls of the priests. But it's time to go down and continue our discovery of the blessed city of Osh, a city full of mysteries and secrets. Now we've made it to a tandoor workshop. A tandoor is a type of Asian oven where bread and samsas are baked. How is a tandoor made? In the same way as bread. First we make the dough. The dough for the tandoor is made of a special kind of clay which is brought from one of the quarries about 60 kilometers from Osh. Not all clay is suitable for making a tandoor. Then the clay is soaked in this vat for about 24 hours are added. In the clay, in addition to water, pieces of chopped wool are added. I will tell you what this is for later. Our dough has been left to settle and it needs to be kneaded. It is all kneaded by foot for several hours. A classic tandoor consists of 3 parts: the base, the upper part and the neck. Masters make patterns for these 2 parts. Roll out this clay dough and it should dry for about 8 to 10 hours. After these parts have dried a little bit, the master starts to make the oven. And now the tandoor is ready for sale. Now a buyer will come to get it and buy it at a price that is absolutely unreasonable for so much labor. This tandoor will cost about $20–25. The tandoor is not lit before it is used. It will be installed. A fire will be made in it, and that's when the wool comes into play. The thing is that the clay expands when heated. In order for the tandoor is not burst, we need to add the wool. Wool burns, and the remaining microscopic cavities are filled with burned wool. The clay expands. Thus, the wool acts as a kind of shock absorber. Due to the addition of wool, the tandoor does not collapse or burst when used. We drove only 5 kilometers from Osh and found ourselves on the territory of the ancient state of Davan. We learn about it from Chinese chronicles, namely from the reports of famous diplomat, traveler, and adventurer Zhang San. In the 2nd century BC, Zhang San, by order of the Chinese emperor, went north to his neighbors to learn about them, establish relations with them, and to confront the Huns together. Eventually, he gets here to Fergana and describes the state called Dawan. In his chronicles, he writes the following: Dawan makes grape wine of very good quality, and the chief treasure of the country are the horses, the heavenly horses, Tianma. That is how Zhang San describes them. They have long, strong legs, strong bodies, they reach an incredible speed and run until they begin to sweat blood. And China even carried out 2 military campaigns against Dawan. One of the goals was to capture not only the Dawan horses, but to uncover the secret of their breeding, the secret of their cultivation. In the last war, in 101 BC, China succeeded in achieving its goal, and the horses moved into the Chinese empire. But the sanctuary remained, and today the stones tell us what these horses were like and what the Devanese did here in this country. Osh has always had a huge number of markets, but today there is only one central bazaar left in Osh, the oldest not only in Osh, but also in Kyrgyzstan. The bazaar has been in this very spot for at least 2,000 years, changing its size a little, but not changing its location. Kurd is our national delicacy. It is made from sour milk and from curd. It is made a certain way. It is very delicious and useful dish. It lowers blood pressure and can be eaten with different additives. And here you see the traditional classic curd. Curd with pepper, curd with basil, smoked curd with the addition of ghee, and there is even curd with apricots. It has a very interesting taste. A kind of sour, salty, sweet taste. It's as thick as butterscotch. Very delicious. The most worthy, most quoted, most trendy rice in our country is Uzgen rice. It's called Uzgen's Devzira rice. It is grown on the banks of 2 rivers, Surdarya and Jaza. And here you see dark brown rice, but it is also Uzgen rice. This plov will never turn into mush. It can be cooked in huge cousins. We, Oshans, know one little secret. You have to use old rice, and usually sellers will have it in separate bags, not lying in the window, because rice is like good wine. Real rice farmers never use rice from the fresh harvest. It has to mature for a year or 2. Rice can be stored for up to 10 years. Do you have old rice? Can I see it? Thank you. Usually, old rice is a bit more expensive than young rice. If we take the same amount of young and old rice, the old will be somewhat heavier, and the plov from it, of course, will be much tastier. What's the cost? How much? And it's more expensive. Yes, I'll take it. Centuries and millennia have passed, cities have changed, countries have changed, people have changed, politics have changed, but the Silk Road has always remained great. Today it still operates. The means of transport have changed. Camels have been replaced by trucks, big cars. The type of goods has changed a little, but the principle of trade, the principle of exchange of cultures has remained the same. And Osh has remained the same. It lives and breathes, breathing this air, breathing this culture, breathing the Great Silk Road. Welcome to our blessed city Osh, a city on the Great Silk Road.